Welcome to this special Italian wine podcast broadcast. This episode is a recording off Clubhouse, the popular drop-in audio chat. This Clubhouse session was taken from the Wine Business Club and Italian Wine Club. Listen in as wine lovers and experts alike engage in some great conversation on a range of topics in wine. And remember to subscribe and rate our show wherever you tune in.
Before the show, here's the shout out to our new sponsor, Ferro Wine. Ferro Wine has been the largest wine shop in Italy since 1920. They have generously supplied us with our new t-shirt. Would you like one? Just donate €50 and it's all yours. Plus, we'll throw in our new book, Jumbo Shrimp Guide to International Grape Varieties in Italy. For more info, go to italianwinepodcast.com and click donate. Or check out Italian Wine Podcast on Instagram.
I'm Joy Livingston, standing in for Stevie Kim, who is on a plane right now. She has left us in charge. She might regret that, but it's all good. We're good for today. And I have my wine. So does Laika, who's with me definitely here. Thankfully, she's the Clubhouse manager, and I'm the producer of the Italian Wine Podcast. So welcome to the Italian Wine Club on Clubhouse. Normally, we do these sessions weekly on Thursday, 8 p.m. CET, but this one is at 9 p.m. because one of our speakers tonight, Gill, is in Australia, and so she's already getting up super early to do this, so we really appreciate it. So this is Ambassadors Corner, where Italian wine ambassadors and wine lovers get the chance to interview their favorite wine producers. These are fireside chat style interviews, and we already have a great lineup, but it's never too late to nominate your favorite producer. So you can always hit up Laika on social media.
I'm on Instagram, so you can also follow me and reach out to me, as well as on WhatsApp.
Yeah, or you can also just go to www.italianwinepodcast.com. This session will be recorded, as always, and will likely be released on the Italian Wine Podcast in one of the coming Thursdays. And we do this to reach more listeners, especially for those who can't participate due to the time zone. So I present to you our guest host today, Gill Gordon-Smith. She has nominated Rocco Toscani. So I'll let her actually talk about Rocco, but I'm going to just quickly introduce Gill before I hand this over to her. And then, of course, at some point at the end, she will probably allow for questions from the audience and so forth. So she is an IWE and of an Italy International Academy expert and principal CEO at Fall from Grace Wines, the winemaker and boss lady. She does minimal intervention winemaking in the McLaren Vale region in Australia, and she focuses on Italian grape varieties. She makes Montepulciano, Carignan, Nero d'Avola, and Arneis in clay pots, as well as Syrah. And let's see, you do a lot of stuff, Gill. So this is going to be, she runs a wine and spirit school. She writes, she teaches, she judges, and you were named Woman of Inspiration at the 2020 Australian Women in Wine Awards. So that's really awesome as well. But I'm going to hand it over to you. Let's see here. Like, am I missing anything or?
Yes. Well, before we start, we wanted to ask, we're actually very curious about why you chose Rocco Toscani as your favorite producer.
Good morning, everybody, or good evening. Lovely to be here. Now, why did I choose Rocco? Well, Rocco, I really love Rocco's wines. We don't want to give him too big a head, though. He's making really innovative, world-class wines that I think have personality. And they're a real artistic expression. And for me, winemaking is about art as well as about science. So I love his wines because they've got absolute drinkability. And for me, that's something that's really important. And I think Rocco's wines really do that. So he also comes from an amazingly talented family who are really passionate about Italian made. So I think it's wonderful that Rocco's making such beautiful wines from such a beautiful place.
So another question, though, what are your learning objectives that we should expect for this interview?
Really, I'd love people to understand the impact that Italian native grapes are having around the world, especially in Australia, because they're so important for addressing climatic issues here. So it's wonderful for me to have the opportunity to talk to other winemakers, like-minded winemakers, that are using native grapes that I can use here that really help me with my winemaking. So
thank you so much. Well, okay, so we're gonna give you the floor. So yeah, go ahead. Do your thing, Jill.
No worries. Well, hi everyone. I really am so grateful and so thankful to be able to introduce Rocco Toscani to the VIA community. He's a really innovative premium producer. He's making such cool wines. He's the winemaker at Azienda Agricola Toscani. So I know as a child he wanted to be a horse breeder, and because he's always loved animals. But he has quite a well-known family, a well-known father, and so he picked up a camera, which is probably the same as his dad, studied, opened a personal studio, and went to school to become a photographer, and worked around the world doing that. But he was called back home to be a winemaker, and now he's a winemaker in Casale Marittimo. And I know that Rocco considers winemaking to be an art as well. So ciao, Rocco.
Ciao, Jill.
Thanks so much for chatting to me tonight. Now, I've visited your beautiful estate, and seriously, I could really see and feel the passion that you have for the farm, the vineyards, and your product from grape to glass. That was the most important and wonderful thing, was wandering around those vineyards. So can you tell us about the grapes you've got on the estate and why this particular place is so good for growing them?
So I'm in Casale Marittimo. Casale Marittimo is a small town close to Bolgheri. So it's a very important area that I am, in a way, considered one of the producers in unlucky areas, because I'm really neighboring Bolgheri. So it's kind of a hard task to follow up. But when I came into the winery, my first idea was to really detach myself from what was the original image of this area. So I think it's a very important area, and it's wines grow really well, and it's in a way it's an easy area. Let's call it like that. It's made for that, or at least it shows that it's made for that. And so I grow Syrah and Cabernet Franc as my primary grapes, and then I have Teroldego, and then I grow some Greco. I put the white grapes because I do co-fermentations with the reds, so I started this way, and I'm still doing it. But now I'm also doing a very, very small collection of Greco. I do around 400 bottles of it, but it's very, very interesting. So probably I'm going to grow with that too. And so yes, I love this place.
It's so gorgeous. I think we're both coastal winemakers. Where I am in McLaren Vale, it's got a very similar vista. And then when I first stood on your land and looked down towards the Tyrrhenian Sea, I was really struck by firstly how beautiful it was, but also how familiar it felt for me as far as the landscape. And it's just on the edge of Bolgheri. It's a bit like Coonawarra in Australia, which we grow great Cabernet. If you're outside of that region, and even if you're just a metre outside of that delineated area, you're not considered to be in the best area, but the wines are amazing. So does this give you a bit of a freedom to be just on the edge? Yes, because to tell you honestly, I picked up the winery as being a winery that was, I wouldn't say imitating, but at least going in the direction of stylistically of Bolgheri. So for me, the first real object was to do my own thing, or at least I was a photographer, and the cool thing about it was that if you don't like your job in Milano, you pick up your camera and you go to Berlino or New York or Paris, and you do your job there. Maybe it works better. Here,
I mean, I'm extremely lucky to be here, but you know, the vineyard is where it is. You can't move it around, so so it's you have to sort of find the real potentials of the place and sort of work with that and see what's what's the result, and then also the fact that you study a market or at least, you know, we make fashion. You know, we decide what's going to be next, or in a way. So it has to be something that has to go outside of a well-designed image that, you know, many follow in this area. That is probably not exactly the only way to do it. So my objective was to really give my own interpretation of this place, and you know, and the reason why I came here is because, you know, I was born and raised here, and I think that this place has to, in a way, go on and show the real potential of it. So this was my central project, you know, to really discover, in a way, what was really the great parts of this piece of land.
Yeah, so exciting. It is so exciting because it's both artistic and creative, but also scientific. So, you know, I love wines that reflect people, like their personalities and also their place. But if you could make wine anywhere else in the world, I'm going to put you out of your comfort zone here. Where would you do it, and what would you make?
I don't know. I'm a big lover of Sangiovese, and I don't know. I'm a very, very, very solitary person in a way, and so probably I would see myself somewhere in some heroic winemaking side of a mountain somewhere where it's, you know, maybe a place where there's a little bit more water than here, because now it's starting to get really dry, or, you know, depends on the season. You know, when I talk to my friends in Valtellina in the spring, they say, "Oh, it's still snowing here." I'm like, "Okay, no, this place is cool." You know? So, you know, it's every place has its own story. I think. I honestly, the reason why I came here is, so this is the story. I have to tell you this story. I was born and raised here, and I love this place. I mean, I could do anything for this place. So I went with my father in Bordeaux, and the show went terribly bad, but really bad. So I sort of started to calculate how much longer he could hold on to a project like that was just, you know, I don't know, it wasn't really working in a way. And so I picked up the project of wine because, in a way, to defend the land where I was born. So, in a way, I had to sort of find the right solution to make it, in a way, work. And you know, it's you know, I'm attached to this place. So it's you know, for me, seeing things that go better and better every year, it's, you know, it's an amazing thing. It's I don't know, it's a love story in a way.
It is a love story, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you find, so for me, I can see how connected you are to the land, and for me that's the most important thing is the vineyard, that we sort of each year we're showing an expression of that particular vintage. It's like having a time capsule of that year. That's what I find so exciting, and I can see that in your wines, having looked at quite a few of your wines now, because, you know, I only discovered your wines through VIA. If I hadn't come to do the VIA course, I wouldn't have met Pinta, and I wouldn't have met you and all the other, you know, amazing ambassadors that we've got there. And I was blown away by just how genuine you were and how country you were, even though you're such a cool, tall sort of person. Like, you're very much solitary and country, quite shy. So it's really good to look at your wines and see that expression. And I want to ask you, what part of the process do you enjoy the most? Are you a vineyard person or a wine person? Do you enjoy the winemaking more or the vineyard?
I think the whole the whole thing comes from the fruit. So I'm completely dedicated to the vineyard. I mean, this is like, I'm obsessed in the vineyard. It's, I don't know, I cut all the grass in the vineyard by hand with a, how do you call it, the little thing, with the strings in the end of it.
With the snipper in Australia.
Yeah. Dice spugliatore in Italian. But anyways, I declare it. I'm an obsessive, precise person. I don't accept any mistakes in the vineyard, and I'm the one that is responsible for it. And I do basically all the work in it. I have my guys, my team, but it's I think the most important thing is what you bring home the day of the harvest, and this is something that I see I see it every year, that the more effort I put into it, and the less effort I have to put in the winery. So
exactly.
So it's the vineyard is everything. I mean, it's there's and then the winery is important, but at the end it's just a very, very, very small process that compared to what you do to bring home a perfect bunch. I mean, I honestly, when we do the last day, or it's sort of this via crucis that you have to do every year, that you get to the end of it and you're like, wow, I almost made it. And it's, this is the part that really I enjoy the most. And, and the fact that you see things coming along really slowly and sometimes too fast. And, this is the real part that we do. We have to sort of wait. We have to wait and see when it's the right moment to do things. And this is, they don't really tell you. You have to sort of constantly be present in it. And this is what I like. I really like to stay out there, and sometimes I turn around and see too.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing, because you can't make good wine from bad grapes. It's all about the grape. And as winemakers, I sort of think your philosophy is pretty much the same as mine, is you babysit and guide the wines, but it's all about the fruit you bring in. And it's just wonderful to hear you talk about your passion for the vineyard. What's the job you hate the most in the winery? I hate the cleaning. Winemaking's about 90% cleaning.
Yeah, the cleaning. Okay, cleaning. Yes, the cleaning is horrible. But the cleaning. Yeah, but no, I think it's. I don't know. I don't. There's not really a moment that I don't like. Probably the worst moment is the last day of harvest, when it's finished and you say, okay, and now.
What do I do?
And now we have to sell it. So this
exactly.
So it's this is the part that is the less romantic. I think the moment where you have to just hit the streets and sort of sell yourself to whoever is it's willing to go your way. But it's I think it's it's all I don't see a bad part of it. It's all fun. I mean, it's like bringing your kids along. It's like raising kids. It's I don't know, it's amazing. It's an amazing job, and you have a project and you sort of focus on something the year, and it's an amazing feeling. And then if you don't get there, because sometimes it happens, because you still work under the sky, you don't have a roof over the vineyard, so you don't really have the control over it, and then you start really thinking of what am I going to do next year to really avoid this mistake, and you restart, and you sort of wait and hope. So it's fun. So Yeah.
It is. It's a fun job, but I hear what you're saying here. There is so much, especially when to be a good winemaker or even viticulturist, you have to be a bit of a control freak. And it's very hard, isn't it, to sort of, at the end of the harvest, to let it all go and think, well, I've made the best wine I can make out of those grapes, and now I've got to go and sell my soul in the trade. It's really hard, people in the trade, because you're actually exposing your heart and your passion, and you just hope that somebody loves it. Do your family get involved in the harvest? I know you've got 2 beautiful kids and a gorgeous wife. Hey, ciao, Benedetta.
Yeah, they do. They come along. I don't force them to do it, but if they want to participate, they do. Honestly, I feel better when they don't come, but just because it's I want them to have fun while doing it, because it has to be fun. But at the same time, I will lose that control freak situation that just blows me off, and I don't really I don't concentrate. But no, it's I think the harvest is that feeling that I wanted to bring back, which I lived when I was a kid. We had a small vineyard by the house, and in September was always this like moment where you sort of, you go in the vineyard, you pick some grapes, but then you have the big dinner, you have, everybody's happy about what happened, and it's sort of it's a big celebration in a way. So I want to keep this thing going on, and we have a big dinner on the last day, and it's in a way it is a family thing. I mean, the guys that work with me are sort of a part of my family. I see them every day, and we pass into bad moments too, in a way, because it's really hard, and it's physically hard to do it all the way, because
for sure. Your vintage parties definitely cold in the winter.
It's cold when you prune, and it gets too hot when you have to sort of select the grapes, and there's not really a comfortable moment in the vineyard. It's always, and if it's comfortable in the weather, you have to you're kneeling down and in front of these creatures that produce whatever we do, and but it's great.
Yeah. It is. It's honest work, Rocco. And the glamour goes out pretty quickly.
Very quickly.
Hey, your labels are amazing. So I know that you're a designer as well. They're really impactful. They're fun. They fit in beautifully with your wines, but they're not the traditional style of Italian wine labels.
I grew up in this, and I think that the labels are. Many times I go into wineries and I buy labels. Honestly, I buy labels because it's part of the process. So it's it has to sort of give you a hint of whatever. If you know it, it's better. If you don't know it, maybe you can imagine. It's the same. It's the same thing as I think as a picture. You cut out whatever you don't want the viewer to see, and this is what I'm going to show. So the label is a little bit a very personal thing that you have. Every wine has its own story. Every bottle of mine has a personal link to me, and I think it's even more important that when I hand you my bottles, I stare at you in the eyes, and I'm giving you part of my family. So it's the labels are, I think, something that reflects my point of view of what has to be shown, or how I view the sort of the communication that I have to do on the bottle to even to attract attention. I mean, I don't say no to that, but it's also in a way my own personal thing or tie that I see every time I see the bottle, and I have the story tied to it, and it makes it even more personal to me.
Do you still get excited when you see your label or one of your bottles on a shelf in a retail store or a restaurant table?
Yeah,
it's Yeah, it's so exciting.
Fantastic. And yeah. Then sometimes I see it maybe on the table somebody that they're not well dressed, or then it kind of bothers me. But but it's it's an amazing feeling. It's your work. It's like it's like when you go in at somebody's house and they have your picture hanging on the wall, and you say, "Wow, it's an honor in a way."
Yeah, it isn't. It feels pretty strange. It is an honor. Hey, can I ask you, what grape do you think best represents your brand? Is there a grape you'd like to plant at the estate that you feel would grow really well there?
I'm working on the Syrah, which is it works very well. We have very loose grounds, very iron-rich grounds. In a way, I'm on the same hills as Bolgheri, and these hills in front of the sea in Toscana are called the metallic hills. I don't know if you know, there's a town in Isola d'Elba which is called Portoferraio, where it was like a huge mining place for iron. So Syrah and Cabernet Franc are the main grapes that I grow, and I think they have a fantastic expression here. I wouldn't change for anything. Probably, no, I don't know. If I was maybe in a different area with different temperatures, maybe Sangiovese would, or maybe at my height at the vineyard could work. But it's.
So you're happy with the grapes that are growing?
I'm super happy.
Yeah.
And it's as I said before. I mean, sometimes you have to sort of. Yeah, I would like to replant the vineyard in another way, or no, maybe not. But this is the way it is, and I'm gonna make it work this way. It's something that I have. Somebody sort of handed me this beautiful thing, and I am gonna pass it to somebody else. And whoever decided to put this, and I agree with it. I mean, I'm changing little parts, and I'm grafting, for example, the Terolivo slowly with the Greco, but no, I think I'm going to continue with the Cabernet Franc. I think this is the real grape in this area. It has an amazing expression, and all the producers that make Cabernet Franc, 100%, I think make very, very, very interesting wines. Here. And,
I think what would be wonderful to do is, as I said, McLaren Vale, where we live, looks really similar to your area, and it'd be really cool for us to make a Syrah over here, and then for you to come over and make a Syrah here with me, and then I'll come over and make a Syrah there with you.
Sure.
We hang out and do a collab. Hey, yeah. What do you like to drink when you're relaxing? Are there any other producers in your region that you admire?
I'm a big fan of the Sangiovese in the Chianti Classico and Montalcino, but I think Montevertine could win for me.
Okay.
La Chiuse. No, I mean, I honestly drink very different things all the time. I almost force myself to discover new things all the time, because we sort of have to you have to understand what's going on in places that maybe they're more fortunate in a way. They're in very, very good places to produce wine, but then at the same time you drink wines from producers that are not in lucky areas that can bring out expressions of wines that maybe you would never ever think, and you stay in the classic areas, and then you don't discover new things. But I really try to taste everything I can, so that sort of enlarge my knowledge, or things that I select things that I don't start to analyze, to in a way imitate also. I'm not saying I invented anything. It's just I try to go the closest as I can to something that I really like.
Yeah, so taking some inspiration, just like you would in art, from other winemakers, for sure. Now, I know you love breeding pigeons, and it was really beautiful when we stayed at your estate, and in the morning you have this amazing pigeon coop. I had no idea that pigeons cost so much money, but how did this fascination start, and what do you love most about your birds?
So this thing started when I was living in Paris. And I was working in Paris, and I would go on Sundays at this market, the same bird market, and I would sort of buy these birds that I would breed and then, go back to the market. And then one day I loved to eat pigeon because in this area we eat a lot of pigeon. So when I decided to come back, I wanted to sort of have my own pigeon coop with the pigeons that I would eat. But then I started looking on, I was looking for the tastiest breed, and then I kept falling into these homing pigeon auctions, and I was like, why people spend so much money on these, And so I started reading, and then I sort of figured out that a homing pigeon is exactly as a racehorse. There is the feeding part, there's the breeding part, there's the racing part. And for me, it's an amazing feeling when you see them come back from a huge race. They can race around 1,000 kilometers in one day coming home. And, when you see them coming home, you're amazed at the fact that an animal that is released, it's such a distance, just, comes home. And for me, they come home for me. They come home for their own, wife or husband, and they, but they're attached to the house. And this is the reason why in one of my labels I put a pigeon, is because
Lumeo.
My whole life I traveled a lot. I went in many places, but every time I had a minute, I would jump on a plane or a train and I would go home. So, this is a sort of something that ties me to this place. The first time I tried to, release them someplace and I saw them coming home, I was like, wow, this is like, it just blew me off. And, and from there I started. And, I race every year and I'm very competitive. Obsessive. How do you say? I like to be. I like to do things well. I like to do it. And so I started racing pigeons, and it's a lot of fun. It's a very nice. It's a very incredible animal in a way. They're attached to the house, and they fly for hours and hours to come back home. And once they're home, you prize them with all the effort that you can. So this is, it's very, in a way, it's very similar to making wine. I mean, it doesn't really change. You put that extra effort and things just come out the way you sort of thought of them. Not always, but most of the times.
Yeah, it's wonderful because my grandfather used to breed pigeons in London. We had massive amounts of pigeons. And when I was flying, I spoke to a pilot once who I said, please don't talk about flying tonight. And what do you like to do? And he said, I breed pigeons. And he said, they're the most aerodynamic bird in the world. Yeah. So you can't get away from that.
They're a piece of design. I mean, these things.
They are a piece of design.
They fly on races that are around 400, 500 kilometers. They fly at on an average of 80 kilometers an hour. These things they're amazing. When they come home, it's just, when I talk about it, it gives me shivers. So
that's obviously one of the things that makes you really happy. So what other things make you really happy?
To go to my pigeon in the afternoon, in the evening when I finish my work, I go to the pigeon house and I make them fly, and I sit there and look into the water and I look at them fly, and it's the moment where I sort of detach from everything, and it's, you think of how you could do better things tomorrow or in the next month or the next year, and it's that moment where you sort of have that cool down maybe a nice glass of wine, but it's that moment is my moment.
That's really important to have that. It's like a mindfulness, a meditation.
Yeah.
So where would you like to see your brand in the future, Rocco?
Everywhere. I don't know. I would like to have to build a brand, or go in the direction where my wines are drunk because you like the wines, not because of any stories that I could tell or any marketing options that I could use. It's just the fact that you take home a piece of me, or a piece of my house, or my work, or my idea. So it's in a way I love it when people that have sort of a different head, or they work, or they have curiosity to sort of jump into something that an intimate thing. So I think my idea, or my real dream is that my wines are appreciated because this is the way I make them, and not because anything else. So it's that's the really difficult part, that you sort of. I'm not really a big social media or whatever. I don't really do that, but I think the results come from hard work. So when you see the bottles in places that I like, this is I think the most amazing feeling is when you go to New York in a fantastic winery, and you find your wine, you're like, wow. I made
have to very quietly take a photo of the wine list.
Yeah, no, but without having nobody seeing you, and you don't post it, because it's just like it's something that
you feel like an idiot.
Yeah, and at night when you lay in the bed, you're like, wow, look at that. I'm sitting by these amazing producers, and I would have maybe never have thought to be in this spot. So it's but I think it comes really, 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 really slowly. And I think who's going to really enjoy the effort that we put into it is the ones that come after us. In a way that you build this piece of the piece of your life, and you sort of every year you try to make it better, and you try to and you can't really go and tell people I made it better, because it just sounds really stupid. You have to keep quiet, and maybe that the year that you're selling that year is not really the best one you made, and you sort of have to you can't really say at home I have fantastic wines sitting in the winery, but at the same time you think of the year that you made that wine, and you sort of you put all yourself in. So this is the really, really cool part, is when you see your wine somewhere that you like.
That's amazing. So I can open the floor to some questions. I'm sure there's a lot of our ambassadors. I see Melissa there, and Corinne, and Hugh, Hayley, Xiaowing, Fanny. Has anyone got some questions for Rocco?
Ciao, Melissa.
Ciao, Rocco, Jill. Hi. Hi, Rocco. So I've tasted your wines a number of times, and have been very lucky to visit your estates with Jill and Corinne and Pinta from back in the day. And so much has changed. You've really evolved, and it's been a pleasure to watch you get more focused and tighter in your wines and your mission and what you want to do. So I have a two-part question. One is about your white wine, your Greco, because I remember tasting that back in 2019, and I think you were still trying to figure things out with that. And so I want to ask you what the genetic material is for the Greco. If it's Greco Campagna or if it's Greco Bianco, like that you would find in like Calabria or Puglia. And the second part question is just you make predominantly red wines, and I completely understand the move around Bolgheri and in your area and Casale Maritimo to move more towards Cabernet Franc, which I think is absolutely great. Adore your expression of Syrah. I remember when we were sitting with Stefano Amerighi from Cortona and in Italy, and both with Stefano and you guys have the best expressions of Syrah in all of Italy, as obviously in Tuscany. So if you could speak to the genetic material of your Greco and then what you like to eat with your red wines. If you could expand on that, I'd love that. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. So the Greco is Greco Bianco. I grafted the Terolde with the Greco that they do in Sassotondo. I took that family there, and I changed a lot on that wine since the one you drank. It's I did on the first year, the one that you drank was I macerated the grapes for around 20 days, which I sort of took that out and I cold macerate for 2 days before fermentation, and then I take the skins out, which I think gives a much better expression of this grape. It's more personal in a way. I thought that the over macerated was a little bit too general in a way. You could make this anywhere. So I was looking for something that was a little bit of an expression that, could talk a little bit more about this area. So it's, now it's, I think it's much more salty and it's much more elegant. So I think it's working well. And the other question was, what would I eat? I can eat anything. But I don't know. Honestly, I red meat or chicken with I do a fantastic chicken in the wood oven that I build in here by my house. But it's I don't know. It's very difficult to answer a question. What you like to eat or what would you pair it with? Because it's I think drinking a bottle of wine, it's a moment of sharing. So I think it's more about who do you drink it with, rather than what would you eat with it. So I think it's it's a moment of exchange. You sort of analyze and you taste and you talk about it and you sort of feel the nuances of whatever you are drinking. So I think it's it's also nice. The fact that you can, talk about the wine and then, you eat it. Yeah, I would go with something with meat. Yeah.
Thank you, Rocco. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. Great question. Hey, Hayley, how are
Ciao,
you?
Hayley.
Ciao. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm driving right now.
We can hear you. What's your question?
Oh, it's so good to talk to you all and listen to you share about the winery. I haven't been there since 2016, so it's great to see again everything that you're doing. And but I have a question just about the sparkling wine that you started doing a couple years ago, and maybe you guys talked about this already, but if you didn't, if you could just kind of share a little bit about that with the group.
So thanks, Haley. I make a sparkling Syrah rosé. On the first year I came in the winery, we did a selection of green harvest. And when you go to a new place and you sort of start thinking of how you can make things work better, or I was looking at all the grapes on the ground. I was like, this is too much waste. And so we decided to make a wine with all the grapes that I harvest, that I sort of make a late green harvest. So right after color change, I select the grapes of the Syrah. So I leave the very good bunches, and I take off all the sort of the clusters or the bad position grapes, and I so very high in acidity and very little color, still sort of half of the bunch is in a way green, and I press the grapes and I start fermentation in stainless steel, and then I bottle the wine while it's still fermenting. So it's when I did it in 2016 was something that was completely sort of not cool to do in this area. So I remember I used to go to places and the owners of restaurants would ask me if I brought a beer or something like that. So it was, at the beginning, it was kind of hard to have people understand that in this area we could do something that detaches a little bit from what was the classic winemaking. So it has been a fantastic experience for me, and it has been something that it helped me a lot to analyze also the other wines in a way that you realize that you can do things that are completely different and you actually like them. I don't say that the other people like, I like it. So it's fun to make something that goes, a little bit outside of the normal voices of your area. So it's a project that continue. I changed the bottle now. It's going to be in a clear bottle, so you see that it's with col fondo. And so no, it's something that it's instead of doing a white wine. At the beginning, I did that, and it was my way of saying that I don't want to do or rent a vineyard of Vermentino because I need a white wine, because in this area they sell more white wine than red wines. But it was more of a fact that things can be changed in this area. So that was my thought of it.
Fantastic. Hey, great question, Hayley. Look, we've got time for one more question. Corinne, how are you? Good to see you, mate.
Good to see you. And
ciao.
We'll hear you.
Yes, ciao. Rocco, I was just wondering, you talked about, I guess how important, obviously, everything is in the vineyard, and maybe some of the changes that are happening. So, climate change, of course, we talked about maybe it's getting drier there. Are there some things you've had to do, or processes you've had to change in the vineyard to adapt to some of these, new conditions and climate change?
I open my winery on Saturday mornings, and I have the old timers of the town come and buy the wine, bulk wine, and so this is, for me, it's one of the best moments where they sort of analyze your wines and they give you comments. And this is something that I want to keep. I like to look forward in a project, but I also like to, the traditional part is very important. So in this area is very, very well appreciated wines that are dark, or they have this powerful look to them. And I like this part. I like, wines that have sort of this big shoulders, but at the same time, I enjoy acidity in wines. So I wanted to keep the fact of, the over-ripeness of the grapes, and if I can continue to keep them on the plant, I like to, I like to continue and keep them there. And so to avoid over structure in a way, I planted the Greco. I grafted the Greco to work on the acidity. So I control my acidities by using white grapes. Which is a grape that, can hold very long maturations. It can wait the red wine. On the Syrah, I use the Greco to higher my acidities, and it's something that I haven't invented anything. It's just, they do it in the Rhone Valley. They use Viognier, but, it's something that, helps me a lot to have wines that have this sort of power, but at the same time, when you sip on them, they sort of give you a little bit of a, shake in acidity. So it's something that I'm very happy of. The fact that I put the Greco, because it's really helpful. I have Greco and Petit Manseng, which I use to do this process. And, I think we have solutions. In this place, it gets really dry between June and mid-August, and then it starts raining again just right before harvest. So, yes, it's dry, but it's an okay dry. I mean, it's getting hotter, but this is for everybody. It's you have to, like I said before, I can't move my vineyard to Berlin or London. I have to stay here, and this is something that you have to sort of find solutions, and this was a solution that I think it had a very good result.
Good question, and brings us back to one of our learning outcomes is why we use Italian grapes over here, and again, it's for that acidity. I love the fact that you're an acid king. I call myself the acid queen. Rocco, thank you so much for having a chat with us today. It's been fantastic. And I just want to thank everybody for turning up. I know it's sort of getting around dinner time for you guys in Italy, because I know you eat so late. So I'm going to pass back. See each other soon for a big vintage party at Rocco's. Yeah, second half of October, we're going to be there.
Yeah, it sounds good. Thank you so much, Gill. And Rocco, honestly, it was amazing listening to you guys. We sat here with our wine and we literally just zoned out listening to you guys. It was amazing. And let's see, next Thursday it will be Stevie again, and
He's gonna be back.
Yeah, exactly. We're actually we really miss Stevie. We had some technical issues, and she tends to just know what to do. So anyway, next week Stevie, and it's going to be Ciro Pirone who is interviewing. Ciro Pirone,
yes.
Sorry.
And he's here.
Interviewing Roberto Di Meo. With that said, I am going to close this out. I appreciate everybody who listened in, as well as everyone who asked questions. And Gill, you're awesome. Thank you, Rocco. And we will talk to you next week.
Thank you so much, guys.
Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao.
Swirl, swirl, sniff, sip, sip.
Listen to the Italian Wine Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Himalaya FM, and more. Don't forget to subscribe and rate the show. If you enjoy listening, please consider donating through ItalianWinePodcast.com. Any amount helps cover equipment, production, and publication costs. Until next time, cin cin.